Breaking women's basketball news, Diana Taurasi, widely regarded as one of, if not the greatest women's basketball player of all time, has announced her retirement. She's the WNBA's all-time leading scorer. She won 3 championships with the Phoenix Mercury, where she spent her entire career. She was an 11-time All-Star. The future Hall of Famer, also named to 10 All-WNBA first teams. She won 6 gold medals with USA Basketball, which is the most of any player in Olympic history. And, oh, by the way, one of the greatest college players of all time as well, for Gino Auriemma at UConn. Let's bring in Erica Ayala. First off, Erica, what's your thought on this news coming out today? I mean, it just felt like she was just going to play forever and going to be playing at a high level forever.
Well, I think that a lot of people would like to believe that, excuse me, and especially since Diana Taurasi, in very DT fashion, teased everyone with her if this is the last ride kind of home game messaging. That being said, I think the writing was on the wall a little bit with how Diana Taurasi was deployed at the Olympics, including in the gold medal game. Now, of course, that doesn't take away from her accolades, but Diana Taurasi is a part of the generation that got us to where we are in women's basketball. And now there's a new generation coming in. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Diana Taurasi, as we see her on this graphic, that she has been a part of 6 Olympic teams. And that really cuts across the pioneers, as we know them, in women's basketball, specifically in the United States. But she's played with and against the best in women's basketball, as you mentioned. No doubt, undisputably a Hall of Famer now that her career is officially over. I'm sure there are some people that are very sad, including the X Factor. I would also say, though, there's probably plenty of people, active players, that are happy they won't have to play against her this coming season. You
look at all the accolades. I'm not sure anybody else has been more accomplished. Would you make the argument that she's the greatest women's player of all time? Is that possible? Would you argue with that?
You can definitely argue it. And in fact, I believe not, 3 or 4 years ago, the fan base voted, and she is the greatest of all time as far as the WNBA is concerned. Again, the Olympic gold medals, what she was able to do at UConn, scoring champion in the WNBA, the championships. You can always argue, though, how many Olympic gold medals, how many championships do you need to be the GOAT? Well, there's no one with more Olympic gold medals. And the arguments after that, I think Diana Taurasi stands a pretty good chance of winning those as well. She will go down in the history books, hate it or love it, regarding her play, certainly her personality, which can be polarizing. But as a New Yorker, with a little bit of spice and sass as well, she has really put on her back an entire generation of athletes that is unapologetic, especially girls and women. And she also has represented the LGBTQ community very proudly. And she is who she is. Diana Taurasi will always be DT. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's also given us some very spicy moments that I have enjoyed covering in my time as a women's basketball writer.
Yeah, you've been covering the WNBA for us for several years now on HQ. 3-time WNBA champion, all with the Mercury, every season with the Mercury. Where does this leave that franchise?
That is the question, because the Phoenix Mercury were already making some moves. They brought in Satu Sabali. They brought in Alyssa Thomas, who just recently had her introductory press conference. But there is a lot of guards on this team that certainly don't have the experience of Diana Taurasi. I mean, again, we just ran through it. Who does? Who does? But there are a lot of young guards. A player like Sammy Whitcomb has played a veteran role coming off of the bench as a reserve, most recently with Seattle, also had some time in New York. So with Diana Taurasi officially retiring, of course, we have the draft coming up, but I do think there is some room here for the Phoenix Mercury to really look to a guard spot that can play along with likely Ka Copper. Natasha Cloud, of course, was traded to Connecticut, so that's not an option for them right now. But I do think they need a little bit of support in the backcourt now that there's officially no Diana Taurasi.
Diana Taurasi announcing her retirement from women's basketball. Erica Ayala with us here. here on HQ to break it all down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's not even close. The most career points in WNBA history. Diana Taurasi playing into her 40s. The only player to even reach the 8,000 point mark, let alone 9,000 and 10,000. She finishes with 10,646 points in her WNBA career.